On.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Raiders Weekly. My name is Stephen Michaels from the Raiders Daily. I am joined by Phil Robertson. What's up, Phil?
What's up, Steven? We're about to get real unfiltered, real daily, and this is the Raiders Weekly Recap. So let's get to it. We got cuts down to the 53-man roster. So I'm going to start reading some names off, and then you start telling me what comes to your mind and how you feel about it. First up, we got Alex Bars,
Practice squad.
Curtis Bolton,
He had that good safety. I would keep him definitely on the practice squad. Great
I-
safe. Only person to make a safety and on defense. Only person to score points, I believe, on defense. I believe. And preseason, I would keep him.
Ike Brown,
Another guy I think I would keep around on the practice squad. I don't think he's ready to, obviously be on the field on Sundays just yet.
Bryce Crosby,
Same thing as Ike. Really the same thing. He showed some flashes in preseason. Definitely a guy I would stash on a practice squad.
Quinterio Cole.
Never heard of him. Don't know who he is. Honestly, I really don't. I don't know what to say. Good luck in the USFL.
Best of luck to you, young man. Enjoy. Cole Fotheringham.
I like him. I really do. I think he can be a pretty good tight end with some work. I know you're a big fan of his as well.
Yeah. If it wasn't for Jesper Horsted, I think he makes this roster. But moving on, Chase Garbers.
Chase Garbers, you gotta stash Chase Garbers. This guy can run. I know his passing isn't all the way there, but remember he is an undrafted free agent. And if the Raiders could keep three quarterbacks, I bet you, if they could have, I bet you he would have been the third quarterback on this team.
I'm not sold on the arm talents of the backup, but I definitely see Garbers as a guy that needs to stick around. With a little bit more seasoning, I believe that if you were gonna have a Josh McDaniels project, Chase Garbers is probably the guy that you wanted. He does a little bit. He does a little bit of everything, and he's a smart kid. Next up, we have the Alex Leatherwood. I don't even have a name for it. We got the unfortunate situation that makes up the 17th pick in the 2021 draft. Alex Leatherwood.
Oh, well, do you want to get into him now?
He we can get into it. I got a few things to say, but honestly, he's out of here. He got picked up by the Bears. The Bears did the Raiders a super solid by picking up his contract so that they didn't get hit with almost $6 million of dead cap.
Yeah. And thank you, Chicago. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Chicago, for being so stupid
You
to
are
take
the
Alex Leatherwood. I mean, listen, how many times can you try with this guy? I can tell you right now, his confidence, hey, he has a confidence problem. This guy is not, I mean, the Raiders tried everything they could, right? I know there's going to be people who say, well, he was, part of the team last year and, they made a playoffs, but he still sucked. He sucked in college. And I think people forget about this. Mac Jones got the ball out of his hand fast. He got away with a lot of holding calls. That doesn't fly in the NFL. This guy is just a draft bust. Unfortunately, he's going to go down in history as just yet another one of the Raiders draft busts. That's just the way it is. But that guy simply sucks.
I it is what it is. Jordan Meredith.
He needs time. I mean, he needs time. That's all I can say about him.
Yeah. Well, the Raiders need guards and he needs time, and that's a shame. Bamadele Olasene.
Now, is this the guy that's a huge dude?
Yeah.
That it is that big guy, the big boy, right?
Yeah, the big
Yeah,
7 foot, 6 foot, 6 foot son, 4 million pound behemoth.
yeah. Let me tell you something. A guy that big, you want to keep around this team. I'm telling you right now, guys don't come around like that very often. That guy's a monster. Put him on the practice squad.
Absolutely.
You're one injury away from going in there. You know what I mean? I mean, especially in the red zone where the Raiders struggled last year, and it seems like every year. Hopefully that changes. This is a guy that could really help in the red zone
That
if they
that
ever called him up.
absolutely an unbalanced line situation or have him be a blocking fullback like they used to do the fridge would be it just be comical to watch. I'd enjoy seeing it personally. But a guy that big with that type of talent does not come around too often. And if he's as raw as they say he is, then they need to keep him around and square off his rough edges so that he can shine. Because that he's a big ass fool who needs to be playing. Next up is Dylan Stoner.
I don't know about this dude. You know what I mean? He was on a team last year. Uh, didn't really do that much. I know coaches and I've heard scouts say that there's potential with this guy, but he didn't make the team for a reason. He
Uh,
didn't, you know, he didn't make
yeah,
the active roster, I should say, for a reason. So only time will tell with him. I'll give him the benefit of doubt right now that maybe practice squad. Who knows?
I said no, and until his teammate Divine Diablo showed up, Dylan Stoner had the best name in football. Now he doesn't even have the best name on his team. But
I know. Yeah,
there,
he does have a great name. A great name though.
his competition in the receiving depth chart grew tremendously, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, he was not able to bridge that gap. And then we have so moving on, we got Myron Tago Vailoa Amosa.
Yeah, I believe he's the running back's nephew. Correct?
Nah, no, that's
Yeah.
Tago. That's Tua's cousin.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah, almost. Yeah, I see. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't have much really to say about this guy. What's you got any opinions about him?
Listen, it took me longer to say his name than it would to read his stats through the preseason. Best of luck to that young
Exactly.
man. We'll move on to the next. Next up is Zach Van Valkenberg.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, what a name! What a name! What a name of Van Valkenburg. I don't know how he's not a superstar already, but again, this is a guy who needs to, uh, probably needs a year or two, and we'll see. We'll see how he goes from there.
I had a lot. I had a lot of fun saying his name. I'm not even gonna lie. With a name like that, you expect this guy to just be balls to the wall, just a flat out fucking nutcase. But
Yeah, yeah.
it was more it was almost more fun to say his name than it was to watch him play. So we'll see. Well, hopefully he can get to that level that his play can back up the name. But until then, on to the next. And next up is probably my second favorite person on this entire list, Austin Walter.
Yeah, Austin Walter. Let me explain something to people who maybe don't aren't crazy with football like I am. Austin Walter, first of all, has a tremendous first step. So when he gets the ball, he takes that first step and then he pivots. He steps so hard and he pivots and he has very good vision for a running back. Now, I believe he's an undrafted free agent, and this is a guy that you have to stash on your practice squad. And this is a guy that's one injury away from the running back by committee, which the Raiders have, to being in that rotation, on a practice squad. I like this guy a lot. I think he runs hard. I think he's a physical runner, and he also has the speed. And I know you like him too.
I like Austin Walter a lot. I like for many of the same reasons that you got, but more of the scheme fit that he could represent. And when I look at Austin Walter and what he can do, I see a lot of James White ability in him, and I really thought that it would have been him who got the nod instead of Britton Brown. But they drafted Brown, they signed, and it looks like Walter may probably be headed for the practice squad, hopefully, if he can sneak through waivers. But that brings us to Isaiah Zuber, the super tool player, that the player that scored a touchdown and an interception in the same game.
Yep, just for that, I would say you gotta, if you can get him on your practice squad, you get him on your practice squad just for that. I mean, come on, you get an interception and a touchdown in one game. Keep
I'm
the guy.
if that's not some old school New England type shit, I don't know what is. It wasn't it Troy Brown who was playing wide receiver and safety.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh, yeah. So I mean that type when you talk about versatility, that's some old Hunter Renfro type shit
yeah,
over there playing defense on punt return.
yeah. I agree. I agree.
But and we'll continue to the guys who were just flat out released. Now it's a list of 5 guys here. 2 of them I was pretty surprised by, or one of them I was completely surprised by. The other one I was like, well, I could see it, but I thought that he had played well enough to play on. So I'll give you these 5 names, and then you tell me how you think. We'll start off with Keelan Cole.
Keelan Cole should be on this active roster. That's my opinion. I think. Listen, I hope this staff, they see these players a lot more than I do, obviously. I hope they know what the hell they are doing because Keelan Cole was on the New York Jets, okay, that don't have a quarterback. They suck forever, and they throw him in preseason, and he looks pretty good. But for some reason, I knew the writing was on the wall when he's in there in the fourth quarter of a preseason game, and Matt Collins is sitting on the sidelines, or not even at the game. I mean, this is just, I don't know. I hope this does not turn out to be a disaster for the Las Vegas Raiders, and all of a sudden we see Keelan Cole's name being called for the Chiefs or Chargers or something like that, because I think this guy would have been a solid number 4 wide receiver on this depth chart. I don't like the move. I don't. And in case you guys never heard my show before, I'm not one of those people who just say, "Oh, everything's great what the Raiders do." Nah, nah, nah. This is real shit right here. Real talk. Keelan Cole is a good wide receiver. Keelan Cole probably should be on this depth chart, but these coaches don't. They didn't like Keelan Cole for some reason. Like I said, they see him every day. Maybe they know more than me, obviously, but still, from what I've seen, I would have kept this guy on the depth chart.
I don't know, and me personally, I would have kept it. He at minimum, he would have been no worse than the 5th best receiver in this depth chart. And the only thing I could think is maybe he didn't want to play special teams because I gotta believe that he would be bet that he's had more success fielding punts and kicks in the NFL than DJ Turner has. And that's easily verifiable fact. I thought that as a receiver, he was definitely better than Turner and T. Billy, and should have at least been the. I honestly thought he was better than Hollins too, but he should have been no worse than the 4th best receiver on this squad for sure.
Plus, I have a feeling Hunter Renfro is still going to be returning kicks. I just have that feeling.
I really hope not. I
Let's
really
see if
hope
I'm
not.
wrong, Phil. Let's
Uh,
see if I'm wrong.
you're
But
probably not, but I really hope so. But move.
let's see, guys. This is the first test. Let's see if Steve knows what he's talking about. Will Hunter Renfro be returning kicks?
I hope
On
not.
kickoffs.
I hope not.
Uh, let's see.
And
Maybe on punts
but
too.
even still, Keelan Cole was a better punt returner than Hunter Renfro. Keelan Cole has been
Keelan
to the
Cole
house, has
was with
made a
the
couple
Jets.
house calls.
Was with the Jets when they had like 4 quarterbacks and he still got like 500 yards receiving. How do you cut Keelan Cole?
I wouldn't
How
have
did?
did it. I
Oh,
wouldn't have
what
did it.
a dumb decision. I'm
I,
sorry. It's just stupid. It's dumb.
I got to believe that he asked for that. That he said if he was going to have to come off the bench, he wanted to go and have a chance to start someplace else. I got to believe he asked for that because other than that,
They
there's no
played him in
way.
the fourth quarter. They played him in the fourth quarter.
And that's probably why. because I just don't see how you could think of the other guys are that they are that much better than he is, because they're not. They're
I
not.
mean, Tyrone Johnson.
Might be
I mean,
faster, but doesn't catch as well.
DJ Turner. I'm not even sold that DJ Turner will remain on the active roster when we get to week 1. Uh, I mean, there could be a chance that DJ Turner, because a lot of stuff is going to happen from now to week 1. A lot of stuff is going to happen. There's different pieces will be moved. I would not be shocked at by week 1 or maybe week 2, DJ Turner is on a practice squad and someone else is there. And if that happens, it really doesn't make sense. That's just my personal opinion on it, though. But you can let's go ahead with the list.
All right, Ronus Grasu,
A
backup
center.
center.
I mean, they don't need him. They have Munford, who in a pinch could play center. They have Andre James is going to be a starter. All these guys. They do kind of did the same thing Tom Cable did when he was with the Raiders. They make every guy learn pretty much every position on the O line. Wasn't really needed, So pretty much all I got on him.
Matthias Farley.
Not a guy that again, I mean, not a guy that really stood out to me, and not a guy that's worth it, to be honest. Do you have any good things to say about him?
No. All
No.
right, he didn't make the cut. Didn't make the cut. That's
Yep.
all I got. Now we can move into what I thought was the second surprise cut. Darius Phillips. Now, it didn't necessarily surprise me that he got cut. I just was amazed that he didn't get cut. He got cut in favor of Amik Robertson.
Yeah. I mean,
that was what was more surprising. He showed a tackling issue, because he likes to go for the big hit but doesn't wrap up, but he does also force fumbles.
He does the Abram. He does the Abram. Hopefully the Abram does not happen anymore, but that's what the Abram Jonathan Abram used to just try tackling without wrapping up. Yeah, I was a little surprised here too, because Amik Robertson, for people who don't know, this is a guy who started off training camp hot. I mean, he looked really, really good the first couple of weeks of training camp. Then he just kind of fell off a cliff. The guy started to suck. Week after week, they put him in preseason games. He was getting burned, even in the scrimmages, not looking that great. So, I mean, he had a really bad, last month, 3 weeks to a month there at the end. I was shocked that Amik Robertson got over Phillips. Again, another head scratcher for me. Hopefully, his coaches know what they're doing.
That's all I can hope for. But moving on to the last one, Kyle Peko.
And Kyle Peko is a guy. I mean, they have a lot of DTs, and I don't know if they're done adding that DT. To be honest, I really don't. They very well could add someone. Remember, a lot of teams cut a lot of players, so he's a guy that I think just got lost in the shuffle. To be honest, I just don't think he was gonna make it, especially with Jonathan Hankins. He returned. I think that was kind of the end of Kyle Peko.
And then Jacob Hollister made the injured reserve list.
Oh, that guy could start. But if something happened to Foster Monroe or something like that, uh, he is a good enough tight end where he could be the third tight end if they needed 3 tight ends, for example, on a play. He could fill that role. He really could. Same thing with Horsted. If they need a third tight end, I'm not saying be Darren Waller or something like that. I'm saying be the backup for the backup for the back, be the third tight end on the team. I think he could do it.
The mismatch guy, the guy that can do a little bit of both, block and go out there and
Yeah,
receive, and is sneaky athletic.
yes, he knows how to block a little bit, sneak out. No one's really covering because no one really cares. No one knows who
Right,
he is.
right.
That's what I'm saying.
Got you. And now we can readdress the final roster move, that second to final roster move, because there was another one made recently. And what is that? Kyle Fackrell, or what is his name? I forgot what his first
Yeah,
name
yeah,
was. Kyle Fackrell
yeah,
was cut from the injured reserve list.
yeah.
How does
So
that work? That's supposed to be an injury settlement, isn't it?
unless unless that's coming, or unless he's fine now and they put him on the active roster.
I haven't seen that move made, but it could happen, or he could have got his injury settlement and they just
Yeah,
failed
yeah.
to.
Remember too, these injury settlements we don't hear about them for like 2 or 3 days.
Right.
So that probably is the most realistic. But
All
we'll
right.
see. We'll know in a couple days.
And so now that brings us to the final roster move. The Raiders trading Trayvon Mullen to the Arizona Cardinals in exchange for a conditional seventh 2023 draft pick. And if he hits enough snaps or makes enough plays, it will become a sixth round draft pick.
I believe he only needs to play 10 games for the Raiders to get a 6th round pick to to start 10 games. I believe, anyways. But listen, I know a lot of Raider fans were kind of mad about this, and I mean, you got Rocky Sin over there, who's pretty good, and the Raiders coaches really like this Anthony Everett. And don't forget, don't sleep on Nate Hobbs. This guy has been balling out all through OTAs, through training camp. I mean, this guy has been looking amazing. So that and Trayvon Mullen hasn't been around. He hasn't been in camp. He missed the entire time. So it's kind of hard for someone to learn a scheme when he's not available. When you're not available, it means, I mean, availability is everything during training camp. It really is. You're not there, it's time to move on. And this is a new regime. They don't care what round you were drafted in before they got there. They don't care about anything that happened before they got there. It was time. I mean, Mullen, maybe he might go to Arizona and do great. But the bottom line is this: the team wanted to move on with their guys that were present during training camp and OTAs, and it was time to move on for Mullen. And that's exactly what this organization did.
I I really feel like as you said, availability is always the best ability. And 5'8", 195, 200 pounds of hot and cold corner is better than 6'2", 205, 210, and often injured. And that's just the way that it is.
Yeah,
I
I mean, the injuries have plagued him, and not to mention, people forget he gave up some big plays when he was out there.
only gave him
You
three
know, last
touchdowns.
yeah, but I mean like plays, just plays in general. Like he gave up some pretty like a couple big first downs, like, and he does get hit with the injury bug. You have to be available. You can't just sit out the entire training camp and expect just to have a job. It doesn't work that way. Not with Dave Ziegler and these dudes. They're not like that. They don't roll like that. Trust me. They don't roll like that. And I kind of like it. You know? I mean, you're not available, we're going to move on with someone else. And Nate Hobbs stole his lunch money. Nate Hobbs is the man. He stole the moral of this story is Nate Hobbs outplayed Mullen. He looks better than Mullen, and that's why Mullen is now with the Cardinals. But I hope he does play 10 games.
I do too.
And by the way, the Raiders do play the Cardinals, I believe, in week 2.
Yep,
Let's
home
see.
opener.
Let's see what happens in that game.
Hope they start him.
Mm, we'll see.
Hope they start him. And so that brings us to the updated list, which dropped while we were recording the show. So when you heard us talking about who may or may not be on the practice squad, understand that we're not some basket cases here that are totally under a rock. It just happened while we were doing the show. But with that being said, the practice squad reads as follows: Curtis Bolton, Ike Brown, Bryce Crosby, Matthias Farley, Cole Fotheringham, Chase Garbers, Ronas Grasu, Jordan Meredith, Bamidele Olaseni, Dylan Stoner, Myron Tagovailoa Amosa, Zach Van Valkenburg, Austin
So,
Walter, and Isaiah Zuber. So
so
nearly
pretty much all
everybody
the
that,
guys that we said should be on the practice squad.
yeah, it's amazing how that works
Wow.
out.
That is amazing, isn't it? Almost like we know what we're talking about, and that's why we have the best freaking Raiders show on the planet, and nobody can touch us.
Uh,
Maybe it almost sounds like that.
I mean, you could try some of the other guys. They'll tell you that Alex Leatherwood is going to be around for the next 15 years and is going to be a cornerstone of this franchise.
Yeah, he'll be around. He'll be around. He'll be the Target manager, and he'll be working at Target as the manager in 3 years. That's what he'll be around. Listen, Alex Leatherwood sucks. There's no way around it. The
None.
guy can't stop holding. The
No.
penalties are just dumb penalties. He has confidence issues. Uh, I'm not joking around here. Confidence issues. So when he gives up a big sack, he can't get it out of his head, and it goes on all game. That's why the Raiders benched him in preseason and brought him back in the game like he's a 12-year-old to get his confidence back up. It's time to that. It was already time to move on from Alex Leatherwood. And at first I was thinking, just stash him on the depth chart because the money issue. But now that the Raiders get that $5.9 million back, good riddance.
Yeah. That was the best thing for them. At this point, the only solution that I had for Leatherwood was to try to move him back to the left side, and that was it, because otherwise it just wasn't working, and he had very quickly hit the need a change of scenery button, because it just, you were watching him getting his lunch taken from him by practice squad guys, by guys who are not even gonna make the practice squad.
And maybe listen, I don't like it. I would actually prefer, just to be clear here, even though I talk a lot of shit, I would actually prefer Alex Leatherwood to have a good, career in Chicago, just so the Raiders don't get hit with another draft bust, another Jamarcus Russell type, bullshit. So if this guy can play good in Chicago, then fine. Then at least the Raiders don't get hit with the draft bust thing. You know what I mean? But I don't know if there's any saving Alex Leatherwood. But thank you, Chicago, for picking him up instead of waiting to him clear waivers. Because let me tell you something. I don't think I'm talking out of school here. Ian Rapport, I believe, tweeted this. The Raiders shopped Alex Leatherwood to every single team, and no joke, 31 other teams they shopped this guy to, and they all said no. They all
I
said no.
that's where you be incorrect, because what Ian said, which was so much funnier and made it so much more devastating at the same time, was that the Raiders shopped Alex Leatherwood to all 32 teams, including themselves, and still couldn't find a partner.
Well, what he, yeah, but either way, every team passed on Alex Leatherwood. Okay, every single he did tweet that. I thought he was actually just making a joke in the messages, but yes, it's true. They really did. They shopped him. By the way, just to let everyone know, the Raiders, all these guys that they they cut, that have name value, the Raiders did pick up the phone and try to shop them first. But no one wanted some of these guys because clearly, if you're shopping a guy right before cuts, usually that means you're about to cut the guy. So that's why it made it even more weird with Chicago. But whatever, Chicago's problem now. So
Thank you.
let's go on with this list because I'm done with Leatherwood.
Well, we're done with the list. We're all set. We are now with coming wrapping this show up and coming to the curious case of Darren Waller's hamstring and how magically a change in agent precisely on the day that he signed with Rosenhaus, he's back on the practice field looking spry, looking limber, looking running full speed, looking like he's gonna be okay for week 1.
Magically that happens. And you know what? The reason why is it's pretty simple. He was with Clutch Sports. They told him to hold out. And the general manager of the Raiders, they had a little talk. And basically, as I said earlier, being available is the best thing you can do for your team if you want to make the team. And Darren Waller obviously informed his agent of this, and his agent kept telling him to hold out or hold in because he would be staying inside sometimes. Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all because the Raiders were getting sick and tired of this. And then all of a sudden, Drew Rosenhaus comes, and what does he tell Darren Waller? Get on that field. Let me negotiate a deal. Because he knows, just like everyone else, you need to be on the field if we're going to negotiate any kind of deal. You sitting around and not showing what you're capable of is not going to help me negotiate a deal. You tell, us going around saying it's a hamstring, his hammy hurts, his hamstring. That's not helping any kind of deal because then people would say, well, why are you paying a guy who is injured, right? So the best course of action here is to get on that practice field, and then Drew Rosenhaus can then talk to the Raiders. I think you'll have a deal done before the start of the season, to be honest. I think before the start of the season, from right now, from a time we're talking to the very first game of the season, I think Darren Waller will end up getting paid. And some of that, I think, is thanks to Alex Leatherwood, to be honest, because the Raiders saved some of that money. Because at first, if you cut Kenyon Drake, you cut Alex Leatherwood, you're eating a lot of money. You really are. And, we have to go through who made the team and everything, but Clinton Farrell made the team. If the Raiders cut him, we're talking a lot of money there of dead cap. So it would have been a lot tougher to pay Darren Waller now that, he's on a team for now anyways, Clinton Farrell. The Raiders, I think, can make some kind of deal, and Darren Waller will be getting paid. So
Absolutely.
we should go through exactly the roster, who made this team, any surprise guys who made the team. What do you got on it?
So that is definitely what we're going to do. We're going to go through that in just a moment. But right now, we're going to pause for the calls and take a small commercial break.
Work all day, I put in the work all day. Look, no, I don't care what you think or say. I put in the work all day. What? I ain't got a 9 to 5. I do music 24 hours a day. It's not 9 to 5. I can't hear what you are trying to say if you ain't on my vibe. I put in the Look, nah, I don't care what you think or say, I'll put in the work all day. I'll put in the work all day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the little TRD Elite show with me and little Stevie over here, Phil Robinson from the Unfiltered Truth, Steve from the Raiders Daily, bringing in the greatest group around, the Raiders Daily Elite. Steve, take it away.
What's up, everyone? Me and Phil are here to give you knowledge and talk about the silver and black. Let's do this, Phil. So, the biggest news, obviously, Hunter Renfrow signs his extension, 2 years. What do you think?
I think it's a good deal for him in terms of, I think if it's a good deal all the way around. He gets a significant raise. Money wasn't a primary issue for him, so he got paid, but still left enough for Darren Waller, still left enough for the Raiders to continue to have room to maneuver with free agents moving forward, heading into camp. And so I think it was a great deal for everything. And it was a commitment, another commitment to a draft pick. And we haven't seen a lot of that in the Raiders.
Yeah, well, here, the whole thing is, though, they now, I think, 6 players they have that are making, like, I forgot what the number is, $11 million or more. They have 6 right now. So when they pay Waller, which is going to happen eventually, you would think, unless Waller's agent is just a complete douchebag and doesn't take any offer, because I'm pretty sure they're going to offer him 2 years, just like they offered Renfrow, because, he is 30 years old. He's already under contract this season. You add 2 more years to that. He's 33. I think that's pretty fair. You know what I mean? But I don't know if Darren Waller's agent is going to be cool with that. But I think they will be. I think they'll be wrapped up, and then they'll have some money left to go out and pick up a defensive tackle, maybe Sue, or maybe even a defensive back if they're not sold on the guys they have currently. So we just don't know how much they truly like the DBs they have. They talk up, Meek Roberts, saying, "Oh, we think he can be good. We think we can be good," but we heard that last season too from the coaches. And then when we get into training camp and the guy can't do anything. So it's also tough for those guys, by the way. I heard this from, since going to be on our show, a player that we all know on a defensive line, that it's hard for the DBs and the cornerbacks. You got to take into account that they are going to be practicing against Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. So those cornerbacks and DBs probably won't look like they're the best in the world when they're playing against the best in the world. The Raiders have the best weapons probably in years. There is no excuses this year for Derek Carr. Oh, he has no weapons. I mean, this is just like the Miami Heat. Remember when the Miami Heat had all those all-stars on one team?
Boss Wade and LeBron.
Yeah, didn't they win? I forget. Didn't they win like 2 championships or something crazy like that?
Yeah,
I forgot what they did. But yeah, they had like an all-star team. The Raiders' offense is pretty much an all-star team as long as they can figure out what they're going to do with that offensive line. That's the only thing that's still up in the air. Can Leatherwood be that right tackle? Too early to tell, and I don't think we will know until training camp starts, when he's actually, like the coaches keep trying to tell everyone, when there's actually, hitting going on, when someone's actually trying to get by him with, being physical. Will he be grabbing? Remember, during training camps, they have refs there, blowing whistles and things like that. So will he be able to contain a guy like Chandler Jones at right tackle, or Max Crosby? That will be the question right there, if he can be a right tackle in the future. If not, you have Brandon Parker, you have Illuminar, all those guys trying to battle for that spot. So, but other than that, I'm pretty sure that the system will be just like it is in New England. Get the ball out of your hands fast, get to those guys, yards after the catch, and it won't be a problem. Honestly, I think Derek Carr will be just fine with these weapons. If he's not, then he's got to go.
Are we going to see cut and slice Carr instead of dink and dunk Tom? Is that what
Yeah,
we're looking at?
I think so. I think it will depend obviously on the coverages and stuff like that. But I know just during the OTAs when they're just doing, they're not installing, they're doing like plays, and some of them, they're short little slant routes to Adams or Renfro, but there's a few that pretty much are go routes for Devontae Adams. And underneath is Waller and Renfro doing like a crossing route. And they've been doing this play, I don't know, from what I've been told, they've done this play about 15 times. Mm-hmm. It's like the one play they keep going to. They like it. I don't know. It might be a play they already had last season. So, Derek Carr and the offensive line, they're familiar with it. So, but this is a play that if they can execute this play, you have Waller in the, crossing, you have Renfro crossing. So there's two guys right there that someone's going to have to cover. And then you have Devontae Adams just going down the field. So you got to pick your poison at that point. But either way, these guys are like 10 yards down the field, Renfro and Waller. So it's going to be a big chunk play regardless. Right. And you can probably run that play every single play. You know what I mean? With those guys. Who's going to stop it? That's the question. It's going to be very hard to stop. No, so, yeah.
No doubt. So we had heard something about Renfro playing out wide. So what do you think about that?
Yeah. He's been inside and outside. So I don't know what's going to happen once training camp starts. You know what I mean? If that will still be a thing. But right now during OTAs, they've had him lined up inside. They have him lined up outside. They put Waller, obviously a tight end, in the inside. So they put Renfro on the outside. And they've been doing crisscross routes and things like that. Mm-hmm. I don't want him on the outside. He's a slot wide receiver. He does his best work when he's inside, when he's, doing like a Edelman type deal. That's where I think he shines the best. You know what I mean? Like that's where you need Renfro, in my opinion. But I think it's important that they do pay Darren Waller, even though the Raiders did have more success last year when Darren Waller was not in the football game, if you noticed. So, but he's still a good tight end. He's still one of the best tight ends in football. So you got to pay him. But it's like I said, it will be up to his agent if he will accept the deal, whatever the Raiders will offer. And since that guy from the Browns there, I'm blanking on what's his name there?
David and
tight end. Yeah, since he just got paid stupid money, which he didn't deserve. No, now the Raiders have to, you know what I mean? That agent will use that to want more money from the Raiders. So that could reset everything. But I do know that though Waller's team and the Raiders, they've been talking for like a week now, 2 weeks. But they also been talking to Renfro. That's why I told the group, we don't know which one will get done first. It's impossible to know. It's whoever agrees to it first. But I knew that Renfro wouldn't be a big deal. Like it was going to be done before the start of training camp. And it did. It got done this morning. Everyone kind of knew that it would be done before training camp. Waller was the one that, they're hoping gets done before training camp. I think it still does. I think it might get done, honestly, very fast. This is a domino effect.
Well, he's the last domino to fall. And between him and Max, I would say that they were probably the two with the contracts that needed the most amount of finessing. Max made his contract a lot easier than Darren has made it thus far, or Darren's representation has made it thus far. But Darren as a tight end and a premium tight end at what's becoming another premium position. And he's going to get paid. They're not. It's going to be interesting to see how they make it team friendly and Darren friendly at the same time, because for all intents and purposes, if he was to hold out or demand to be released or traded, he's resetting the tight end market. No questions asked. Somebody else is going to pay him 15, 16 million a year.
Yeah, but he's not going to do that. Darren Waller's not going to hold out. He wouldn't be in OTAs right now if he was going to hold out in training camp. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
So, the whole problem is money, really, if you think about it. Like I said, the Raiders have, I think, they have Carr, Adams, Crosby, Chandler Jones, and Colton Miller. They're all making over $11 million right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's gonna be another player. They're because obviously they're gonna get paid more than $11 million. That's another player they're gonna be, tied into financial wise. That's a lot of money to be paying these guys. So when you look at that, when you're paying all of these players, that's like 7 players, over 11 million, that means you're going for a Super Bowl ring. You're not paying all these players just to win 6 games a season.
Nope.
Like, you are paying these guys to be the future and to win Super Bowl rings. There's no other way to, word it. You don't commit that much money to that many players unless you plan on winning a Super Bowl. And I think that's what the Raiders are doing. That's why they're saying, okay, yeah, we're gonna pay you, Max. We're gonna pay you, Hunter. We need to invest into these guys. We can't lose these guys because we need them all as a collective effort to go ahead and make a run in this division. And they need all the weapons they can. Look at that division; it's jacked up. So you need all the weapons you can. This is just another weapon. They will figure a way, I believe, to get this contract done. But again, you never know agents either. You just never know. This guy could be asking for something stupidly insane and we don't know about it. But from everything I've been told, Renfrow and Waller, the Raiders expect to be done before training camp. That is the expectations. The expectations is for them to be done. So far, Renfrow's done. Now let's see if they get Waller done. Because they can tell me whatever they want. They usually wrong. So let's see if they get it done.
Hot off the press from Adam Schefter. Chargers owner Dean Spanos is being sued by his sister, Dia Spanos Berberian, for alleged misogynistic behavior and repeated breaches of fiduciary duty per me and by at Kimberly A. Lawsuit was filed today in California and calls for Dean Spanos to be removed as a co-trustee.
Let's hope. That'd be fantastic. That'd be funny. It's good. That's good news because the Raiders had such a bad news cycle, in the last 12 months. Let's put some heat on another team in the division here. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much chaos going on with the Raiders. Not in the football side of things, but, with presidents leaving, Mark Davis owing money, all this shit. There's so much stuff that's going on with the Raiders. It's a good thing something bad is happening with the Chargers. Let's just hope for the worst for them.
So I hope that there's a very long battle for ownership.
Oh, yeah.
On out that affects the entire, shakes the core of the franchise.
Oh, yeah. It's the Chargers. So, like, they got all these big superstars. You knew something was going to go wrong because of the Chargers. So they got all these big superstars, and all of a sudden the organization just collapsed. You know what I mean? They have to sell the team. They don't know who they're selling it to. You know what I mean? It's just a debacle. It's great news. It really is. It's great news.
It is. That's why I had to cut it in and said, oh, wow, this was amazing.
Now, if only Jack Del Rio gets fired, then that will make my day.
Well, now, it's funny that you said that. Washington is firing defensive coordinator, fining, not firing, fining. $100,000 for his comments comparing the protest in the wake of the police killing of George Floyd to the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol and donating the money to the U.S. Capitol Police Memorial Fund.
Oh, God, it's all PR. Just like his little apologies. He didn't write that shit.
No,
the PR department wrote it. This guy is a douchebag. Okay. First of all, even if you think that, why would you say that to reporters? Why are you even on Twitter? You're a coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one gives a shit about your political opinion, Jack Del Rio. You know what I mean? It's not going to help you with the players. They're gonna hate you, and they already do hate him. So I don't see that guy lasting. But anyways, on to the Raiders.
2017 in the question, and especially since it happened once again in good old Washington.
Oh yeah, that's another. They are a mess. They are a complete mess. Every time this Raiders stuff happens, all their shenanigans, all we really have to do to feel better about everything is, hey, at least they're not Washington.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because Washington is a complete mess. Like that guy will be eventually forced to sell that team.
I'm
so far
surprised
that
he hasn't yet.
I know, well, because he's doing everything he can to hold on to it. At least like with the Mark Davis stuff, with like the other owners aren't demanding like that he fires the team. You know what I mean? They're just hoping he gets his shit straightened out, which I think that's what's starting to happen now is he's getting the shit straightened out. Because Mark Davis, remember, he jumped from little Oakland here where everything was kind of dysfunctional anyways to all eyes are on you in Vegas. You can't screw around. So I think that was a big part of it too, like that's a big, it's a big market, Las Vegas is like a crazy town over there. So that's why I wish they stay in Oakland, but that's another topic for another day. But they're in Vegas and there's a lot of stuff that goes on there. So who knows, but I think everything will be okay with that. So as far as the Raiders are going, like I said, the offensive line, we don't know who will end up getting those spots. Will Leatherwood be the right tackle? I don't know. Does he even deserve to be a right tackle? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe he took a jump. Last year, he did not look like a guy who should be playing right tackle. He was terrible. And then, of course, you got the running backs. I don't think they're going to carry 4 running backs. So one of those guys, which is weird, though, because I heard Amir Abdullah looked fantastic, and then Brandon Bolden looked good. So I don't know how they're going to do this.
Bolden's going to be there. Amir probably will as well. It's a question. It's a toss up on who's going to be available. Is Drake healthy? Last I heard, I believe you told me that there was some talk that maybe he wasn't.
He has. I mean, look at him. He hasn't really been doing anything. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't been doing that much. He hasn't been doing the same shit the other running backs have been doing.
Right.
So I don't know what the deal is. Like I don't know, if there's like a time. Oh yeah, he'll be fully good at this time. But his contract, the Raiders are kind of screwed with that either way, unless there's some, he's not going to be ready and they get some kind of injury settlement type deal. That's the only way I could see him not. That's the only way he doesn't he's not on a team because they already gave him this money. It would be stupid to cut him now.
Yeah, I think they chopped up his contract into about 3 years, 3 years of $3 million so that they could get out of it. The injury settlement would probably be the best scenario for the team in terms of dollars and cents. But when you look at what his abilities are, I'm like, he fits what they're missing so well. Speed, hands, can catch out of the backfield, can run up the gut, run wide. What's going on with Jacobs and Jacobs' ankle? Is it going to be another one of those situations where he's limping across the starting line to the season?
The only thing I know about Jacobs, because the only thing I got back about him was that he's there. He's like at practice. Sorry, the cop biker just went by. He is in the whatever it's called. What do they call the practice facility? Whatever it's called.
The quarters.
Yeah, yes, whatever. He's there, but he's working inside, getting treatments and like lifting weights and stuff like that. They don't feel like they need him out there doing stuff. That's what they're telling everyone, really. So who knows? You know what I mean? Or, every time I've asked this, by the way, no one like has said no. That's not it. Or is he mad he didn't get the 5th-year option? And he's kind of being a baby about it, not holding out, but just like, oh, I'm working inside type shit. You know what I mean? Who knows? But I think he'll be fine, and I think he'll end up being the number 1 back. I really do. And this probably his last year with the Raiders. That's why they drafted Zamir White.
Right.
But use them this year, and then you teach Zamir White how to block and everything, because that's the only thing they can't just start Zamir White because he doesn't know how to do these things in the NFL, blocking, even screen passes and stuff. He's only got, I think he got thrown like 11 times the ball in college, so he has a lot to learn with that. And the coaches, they've even said it in public. They have to teach him a lot when it comes to that. So they could always use him as a guy, a third down running back, almost like how they remember back in the day how they used Zach Crockett. They could use him. They could use him just like that if they wanted to. And then next year he could take that leap and be that number one back. But yeah, they have a lot of running backs. I just don't. They're not carrying all of those guys. And there's no way. There's no way.
No, you can't. It's crazy. And even looking at it, okay, say Jacobs and Drake is healthy. I was like, oh, now who else do you start? Do you bring back the rookie? Do you give Bolden a shot? I mean, what do you do? You're saying Amir Abdul, you need a special teams guy. You're not going to ask any of the other two dudes who play special teams. So do you carry a fourth just for that? It's a lot to look at. You got Sincere McCormick on injured reserve already to hide him from being able to be stolen off your practice squad, but you got to keep Zamir White on the roster, otherwise he's stolen too. So, I mean, what are we really doing here? Now you're looking at, are you keeping 5, stashing calling Bolden a fullback?
Yeah. They're just trying to figure out which guys are the best ones. But the problem is, like I said, Abdullah and Bolden both looked really, really good to the team. So now they're kind of in a pickle here. You know what I mean? Like which guy obviously like Britton Brown is going to be in a practice squad. Right. You know what I mean? Like
Did what happened? Steven. Think we might have.
You get the tight ends.
There we go.
And you got Darren Waller, Foster Monroe. You got their Patriots guy, who I guarantee you they probably like more than Foster Monroe. And so you got 3 tight ends right there. Then the wide receivers, you got a ton of wide receivers, right? And honestly, I'm not even joking. The Raiders might add another wide receiver. So, I mean, there's so many wide receivers to go around. They're going to have a tough time making that, getting down to 53. They really will.
Absolutely.
They have too many guys. And then remember, this is very important. They'll make some cuts, and then they will sign at least 2 more free agents by the time, the season starts. You're going to see that happen regardless. You will see them sign 2 more free agents. It might be a defensive tackle and a DB or something like that, but they will sign 2 more free agents, guaranteed.
So where are we at with Keelan Cole?
Keelan Cole, they said, is definitely, he is going to be the 3rd wide receiver. He's pretty much locked in there. Okay. You got Devontae Adams, Renfro, Keelan Cole. Those are 3 wide receivers. Then after that, it's kind of like a toss up there. You know what I mean? Demarcus Robinson. I know they were trying with Matt Collins a lot, throwing him the ball, hoping that they can get something out of him. They like him. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he did beat the Raiders with that Ryan Fitzpatrick ball. Remember that? So we'll see. That's why I think they're still kind of like looking at wide receivers. I mean, that would be cool if they could get like a Julio Jones or something, some veteran.
Julio Jones doesn't score. Julio Jones hasn't scored in years.
I know, but Derek Carr works good with those guys.
He hasn't scored.
Yeah, you don't need them to score. You have other guys for that. Just to get the ball.
Everybody can score. They're in the AFC West, the best division in football.
I know, but they have players that can score. That's what I mean. You have so many. You have so many guys. But I don't know. I don't really trust Matt Collins. I mean, does it really matter when you have that many guys, though? When you do have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Keelan Cole, Darren Waller. I mean, you already have so many weapons that doesn't really matter.
No,
You know what I mean? You have most teams don't have that many top names like that, top stars.
no,
Those are like top guys right there. Top guys.
and not to mention from you look at it like that and then think anything past that is you're just matching guys up against weaknesses that you see in the other team's defense.
Yeah. Also, before we end this too, watch out for Clinton Farrell this season. They're gonna let him play defensive end. They're gonna let him rush the quarterback. Hopefully he can do that. They say he's in good shape, hopefully, or he's gonna be a bust. And yeah, and they're also I think I already mentioned, they are still looking at defensive tackles and they are still looking at DBs. So keep your eyes out for that, guys, because that could happen. That could happen before Waller gets an extension. None of this stuff, they don't put it in order. It's just whatever happens first. Just like the Renfro contract, it just happened before Waller's. They didn't design it that way. It's just the way it happened.
They just reached an agreement first, but we're about out of time. This has been great. Thank you for showing up. I hope everybody appreciated this. The Raiders Daily Elite. We out.
All right. Peace, guys.